Hello and welcome to Garsington Opera's Design Challenge this week, where we will be looking at Humperdinck's opera Hänsel and Gretel. Interestingly, the words to this opera were written by his sister Aldehard Vetter, and she based it on the Grimm's brothers fairy tale of Hänsel and Gretel. It's a really exciting one, and it starts in a broom maker's little cottage in the forest, and he's got two children, Hänsel and Gretel, who are really feeling so unbelievably hungry, and they start kind of getting under their parents' feet because they're so hungry, and then they knock over the only food the family have, which is some milk, and their mum is so understandably cross that she shoos them out of the house and into the forest to go and pick some strawberries so that they will have something to eat. Now, for this week's design challenge, you are going to need 2 pieces of A4 thin card. You're going to need, and it can be sort of coloured card there. And then you want 1 piece of A4 thin card in a different colour. You can see those colours there. And some scissors, some sellotape, glue, a pencil, a ruler, and rather interestingly, a torch. So that is what you're going to need for this week's design challenge. Now, Garsington's production was designed by the fantastic Niki Turner, and it was extraordinary what Niki did because she made it like a pop-up book. Now I'm going to show you a production shot of the house within that pop-up book. Can you see that? So you can see it sitting on a book there, and then in this next one you can see how the page turns and it reveals a completely different bit of set. I think it's so clever. As that moves, you can see the White House disappearing there, like in the corner. I don't know if you can see that. Now, I've got a pop-up book here, which I was looking at. Now, it's a bit of a Christmas theme, this one, so excuse it. It's not as relevant as the fairy tale, but I just wanted to show you because look at this. You open it up and look at those reindeer popping out of the sleigh there. I mean, it is quite extraordinary, isn't it? And I can't imagine having designing a set like that. What a clever idea. So time to go to our design challenge this week on the production of Hänsel and Gretel to Rhiannon Newman Brown. Rhiannon, quite a challenge here. This set is a pop-up book idea. What are we going to be doing?
Oh, this is such a brilliant design, and I'm really happy to be doing the design challenge on it this week. As you said, Karen, they've used this idea of a fairy tale book. And we've got another picture here of a very classic picture. You can see a gorgeous castle and a bit of forest. So this is, I imagine this is where they got the idea from. So we are going to make our very own magical pop-up fairy tale forest. So here's one I made earlier, and I'm going to talk you through how to do this. Now, it's quite tricky to do it with paper and card to sort of make it work. And that is why this particular production design is really amazing, because I can show you another photograph here from the production. But I've had a little practice, so I know how we're going to go about doing this with our paper and our card. So here we go, we are going to get cracking. So first of all, take your piece of card of which you've just got one in this colour. So I've got one red A4 piece of card, and you're going to, oh, it's still got the label on it. You're going to fold it down the middle. I'm going to take that label off because we don't need that. And then I want you to get the folded edge and put it sort of close to your body. So this is, the folded edge is nice and close to you. So I've lined my ruler up here at the left-hand end, and we've got to mark some bits out first. So I want you to put a mark at 2 centimetres and at 3 centimetres. And then we're going to go put a mark at 6 centimetres and 7 centimetres. So we're working along the ruler this way. Then you're going to put a mark at 10 and 11. And then at 14 centimetres and 15 centimetres. And then finally at 18 centimetres and 19 centimetres. If I just hold that up there to this camera, so you can see you've got these marked out now along your card. Okay, so taking the ruler, again, start at this end, at the left-hand end. I want you to measure up the page, up your folded card, 10 centimetres, and draw 10 centimetres up from those two little marks you put there. And then we're going to go right to the other end on this side and do the same thing. So I'm measuring 10 centimetres up on both of those little end lines. So hopefully you can see that because I've done it with pen, but you can do it with pencil. Okay, now we're going to go back to the left-hand end here. So we've done the first one. Now we're going to do the second one, the second little lines in, and we're going to measure up 8 centimetres this time. Try as best as you can to keep your lines parallel, so they don't start going whoop like that. Keep them nice and parallel. So that's your 8 centimetres there. And then we're going to go to this one. So this is in from the other end, and you're also going to do 8 centimetres at this end. Again, keeping those lines nice and parallel. Fab. So you should now just have one little set of marks in the middle of your card on your folded edge. So let's go to this central one here. Pop your ruler on, and we are going to measure up 6 centimetres this time. So there we go, 6 centimetres. Now, you could get your ruler and just close off those little long rectangles that you've drawn, like that. Because that will just make it a bit clearer when we come to cutting. So hopefully you guys have all got to that point. Now, you can take your scissors and very carefully, you're going to cut up these lines, and you are going to only do the 2 lines at the side, not the line at the end, because that's a fold line. Hope that makes sense. So you're just doing cuts up to that little cross line. Try and be nice and accurate, because when you then fold these over, which we'll do in just a second, it will be easier if you've been quite accurate with your cutting. So there we go. I'm doing this quite quickly, but being accurate. This is the thing about doing pop-ups, is that it is a little bit fiddly, but you get an amazing and very satisfying result. So it's worth just doing it nice and carefully. Right, so now this is what you should have. Hopefully that's nice and clear. Now, each one of these you need to fold over like that. So you're pulling it sort of to the other edge of the card like this. And you want to give it a really nice, good, strong sort of push there on the fold to get it to do a nice crisp fold. Okay, now just pop them back again into their original holes, and we're going to turn it over, and we're just going to fold it the other way too, because this fold here, the sort of more flexible that fold is, the better. So we're just going to fold it the other way too. This looks very peculiar at the moment, but it will all become clear. And then just pop them back down to their original place. Okay, now we are going to open this up. Now you just have to be a little bit careful, because they might all be in a slightly funny place. So if you open it up, you can now pop these out onto the inside of your folded card. And you may want to just give these folds just a little bit of an extra pinch so that they're nice and crisp. Hope you can see what I'm doing there. So I'm just giving those a little bit of an extra fold just to encourage them into the right direction. Okay, look at that. I mean, that looks like a sort of modern sculpture, but we are not finished. That is just one part. So this is where I'm now going to show you how we're going to cut out some trees that we can attach to these uprights so that then they will pop up when we open this up like that. So if you pop your this sort of sculpture to one side, and I'm taking my yellow paper, but you might have different colours. So now just take another colour, and we're going to draw some trees. Now there's a useful little thing here is that we know that this is 10 centimetres high, and we know that's 8 centimetres, and we know that's 6 centimetres. So our tree trunks only have to be as tall as these little red uprights. So I'm going to mark on my paper here. You can see I've already been using it for all sorts of other activities. So I'm just going to draw myself 10 centimetres. So I know that that is the height of 2 of my trees. Then I'm going to draw myself an 8 centimetre line and a 6 centimetre line. So I'm going to draw in here 2 sort of tree trunk shapes, which I can then cut out. So I need 2 that are at 10 centimetres high for each of these outside trees. Then I want to cut out 2 that are 8 centimetres high. So I'm just kind of doing a kind of wiggly trunk shape. And then we want 1 that's going to go in the middle here that is 6 centimetres high. So don't forget, you can always just, you don't have to remember the numbers that I'm telling you. You could just get your ruler again and measure them. So you don't have to remember those. So draw yourself these tree trunks, and then you also want to draw some tree canopy, like the leafy bit of your trees, which we can stick on separately. So you want 2 that are quite big, then 2 that are a bit smaller, and then 1 that is smaller again. And this is because when we put that all together, it will give us a bit of perspective, which is really fun for us to play with. So I'm drawing on here some sort of, they look a bit like clouds, but they are going to be the canopy of my tree. So I'm going to cut all these out, and then we can stick them on.
Great, and of course, just to remind us, Hansel and Gretel are in the forest, in amongst all these beautiful trees, and they've got super tired, and the Sandman has helped them fall asleep and rest for the night in the forest. And then the Dew Fairy wakes them up in the morning, and they wake up. When Hansel and Gretel wake up, they rub their eyes and look around them, and to their absolute delight, there is this beautiful, beautiful house. And here it is in the production. This is what they see. And it's a gingerbread house. I think we all know that story. And the gingerbread house, to their delight, is covered in edible treats. So they can eat the gingerbread, they can eat the sweets. And can you see the sweets in this production with Niki Turner's design? They are so large and they look super edible there. So how are you getting on, Rhiannon?
Okay, I'm not doing too badly. I am madly cutting out my trees. So I've got 2 trees here at the front, and I'm just cutting out my canopy for my second 2 trees. Now I'm doing this really roughly and quite quickly. You guys can spend much more time on this if you would like. So here are my tree trunks for my second pair of trees. And then lastly, here's my final tree trunk, which I'm just cutting out. Now, what is brilliant about what Karen was just saying about this set design with these amazing sort of oversized sweeties there that we just saw in that production shot is that once you've done this design challenge with the trees, you could use exactly the same structure, just like this, but you could stick other things on the front here of these. So, for example, you could make candy cane shapes maybe and stick them on. Or you could make maybe like licorice all sorts, and you could stick them all over here, and then when you open this up, you'd have a kind of mad sweetie box. So I'm going to show you now, I've cut all my bits out. What we want to do is we want to stick our tree trunks onto the uprights that you've cut out. So I've just got my Pritt stick, and I'm going to stick on my tall, my sort of 10 centimetre high tree trunks. There we go. And then I'm going to take my tree canopies like this. These are the two larger ones that I cut out. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back of there and stick them on too. It's quite a good idea just to put a strip of glue, because you might find that it all starts to stick to itself if there's loads of glue where you don't want it. So try and just put the glue where you need it. So now I'm taking my next tree trunks that are 8 centimetres tall, and I'm going to stick them on to the two little uprights here that you folded. Oh, just got that lined up at the bottom. And glue that on, and then we've got another one here to go on the other side. Now I just happen to have red and yellow card. In fact, the yellow is almost like a thick paper, it's not really card. So I think this, for me, makes quite a cool kind of abstract forest design here. But yours might look quite different because you might have all sorts of different colours. But you could always play around with it as well and create something really fab with specific colours. And there we go. Here is my last little tree going in, which is the smallest tree canopy. And I'll just stick him on like that. And there you can see that we have our pop-up forest, because if I close that down like that, then it will all pull up when we open up the red folded card. But we're not quite finished. We're not quite finished. I'm going to take my two bits of card that are the same colour. Now these are A4, and what I want to do is I want to sellotape them together. So grab your sellotape and just quite as neatly as you can put some sellotape down the middle, and then I'm going to fold that over because I want to do it on both sides. So I've done it there, and then I'm going to do it with it folded. So I'm putting half the sellotape on the cardboard. I'm going to snip it at the end, and then as long as it's not stuck itself to my table, I can turn it over and then just fold that nice and tightly. Now if I'd had a larger bit of cardboard, I wouldn't have had to do that, but because I only had A4 card, basically what I've done is now created a kind of much bigger outer bit of card with a nice strong fold in the middle there with the sellotape. So what we're going to do finally is we've got to stick our inner card to this outer card, And you want to get it nice, tucked up, nice and close to this fold here. So what we want to do is close that over, grab your Pritt stick, and be gentle, because you don't want to move it around too much and you wouldn't want to rip it or tear it by mistake. But make sure you get glue close to all these folds, because if the folds aren't stuck really well, then the whole thing might sort of come a little bit undone. So just give that a really sort of deliberate, careful amount of glue. And then, there we go, got a bit of excess glue there. I'll just tidy that up. And then you want to, as I said, get it really nice and close in on the fold of your black paper. And then what you can do is you can shut that and give it a nice little, give it a nice push down, nice and carefully like that. And then, so that now is stuck well to that bottom piece. And then we're going to do the same thing here to stick this side in as well. So give that a nice glue. Make sure you get glue right down to where the folds are at the spine. And then this time you can just fold that over and give that a nice push, nice and firm. And hopefully, if I turn this around, when we open this up, ta-da! There we go. There is your gorgeous pop-up forest. But what you can also do at this point is you could add in loads of lovely details into this. You could add in apples into the trees, or even sweets. Maybe you could draw sweets onto these trees, and you could maybe put a moon in the background on this backdrop, or clouds, or whatever you like. So I would love to see how you get on with this. I hope you haven't found it too complicated. It is a little bit tricky, so I can't imagine how hard it was to put it on stage. So I would really love to see your pop-up magical forests.
What an absolutely fantastic design challenge this week, Rhiannon, thank you. And of course, Hansel and Gretel have woken up and seen the house, haven't they, in this forest? And if you want to find out what happens next as they're eating the sweets on the house, tune in to Monday Motivation this Monday at 10 AM to find out the rest of the story. Thank you for joining us today. Do send us your designs. We really love seeing them. And don't forget to tag us. Thanks, Rhiannon, and thanks all of you. Bye.